and welcome to another episode of The Focal Thought. And my guest today is Maude Guettler. How are you, Maude?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. And you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on this episode. I'm excited to speak with you. You are a practitioner of the Rosen Method. Now, you are a physiotherapist, and you've been practicing, I believe, for a very long time, for at least 10 plus years. I think you started with the Rosen Method in 2006, and you are a teacher of this method at the center. And you've also done training in somatic experience based on Peter Levine. So I'm very excited to speak to you. I mean, we could speak on somatic experience as well. We could also speak on Watsu, which you learned when you were starting out. But in today's episode, I wanted to speak about the Rosen Method. Now, this is a bodywork method that was founded by Marion Rosen, who was a physiotherapist. And this method is named after her. And just generally, the concept of this method is accessing the subconscious mind so that you can alleviate people of their suffering. Now, this is suffering that can happen from trauma or any sort of, mental blocks that have happened in life. Now, I know personally, hypnosis is a way to access the subconscious mind, but this is the first time I've heard of someone actually physically touching the body and specifically the muscles to access the reaction of people while they're doing questions. And you're sort of trying to clear blocks from the subconscious mind. Have I got the basic technique correct over there for the Rosen Method?
Yeah, you have explained it wonderful. I think I couldn't do it better. So really nice. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And did you learn directly from Marion Rosen herself?
No, I'm one of the first, or I'm the first generation who did not learn directly from Marion Rosen. I met her once, but she was quite old already, and I just saw her at a congress. But I learned from students from her. I mean, those who had been coming to Europe to teach Rosen Method in Europe. I haven't been to America myself to learn from her.
Oh, wow, okay. And if people watch videos of Marion online, even in her later years when she was 79, 80, etc., she was always someone who was still learning, right? Especially with her method. She was always very curious about it naturally.
Absolutely, she was a very curious person, and I think that's one of the basis of Rosen Method also is to be curious about people and to be curious about what's special about this person, what's the special gift of this person, or what's the potential of that person lying on the table who maybe doesn't even know that they are so special or that they have gifts or whatever. And yeah, she liked to learn very much, and I even heard when she was in dying, she had a stroke, and the 2 last months, I think she was cared for and couldn't move so much. And even there in her bed, she had some kind of insights and often had the feeling or said aloud, now I got it, I've understood how the diaphragm is working. And so I think she was really curious till the end.
And it took her ailing body maybe to understand, why, say, the diaphragm was working when, it might not have been working as best in her later years. So she learned that lesson.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So when the concept of this is when you have a trauma, the body actually does not relax. So the concept is that the muscle should contract and then it should relax. But when there's a blockage, it contracts and then it stays there. The muscle is not relaxed. Do you know why the body does that? Is that sort of like a defense mechanism, or is that an aberration? Or
I think it's a defense mechanism. I mean, Marion Rosen didn't talk so much about trauma because the word wasn't so familiar at that time. We didn't know so much about the research now that has been done in the later years. So she was more talking about things that we experienced either through education or through different episodes in our life where we had to hide something or to keep something back, and that we do with our muscles. Huh? And so I don't think it's an aberration. I think it's really the way we protect. And we can imagine if a child is brought up in a very strict family and they have to keep back their liveliness or maybe the fantasy because there is no place for such a thing. They really do that with their muscles and blocking I would say blocking their breath, you know. So it's there are many muscles who can keep back this liveliness or this creativity, but mainly would maybe see it in the diaphragm where it wouldn't breathe and move so largely or so freely as it could. Huh?
correct, yes. So they're suppressing their emotions. They're channeling their fear into blockage. And you can see this in terms of the tight muscles, and you can see it in the breath, like you're saying. It's not effectively moving the diaphragm.
Yeah.
She also talked about the whole body. So how the body looked, how it developed. She said sometimes, maybe the hips are wider than the shoulders. So we can see that in how the body develops also as, people are growing up, what this initial suppression has done, right?
Yeah. She was also very often talking about children who needed to be how do you say that, who learned to go to toilet too early in life, huh? And so they needed to tighten the pelvis muscles much too early in an age where the muscles are not really ripe for it. Huh? If we ask children to be clean too early, I mean, they need to use other muscles to help, huh? And all these muscles contraction keeps, even though later they are able to control those muscles, the pelvic floor. The other muscles around keep this or can keep these contractions, which of course doesn't make your hip and your pelvis so able to move as it could be, huh? So
Correct.
it gives the stiffness there.
The stiffness, yes, it's affecting that, and because of that stiffness, it's affecting its growth and development.
Absolutely, yeah. I would think so, yeah. I mean, it's not always the case, but it can. It's always we can't say always or never, because it's every person has a different way of developing, huh? Or coping with the difficulties also.
Correct. No, of course, we cannot generalize. And then she also spoke about facial expression, and the age of a person, when they captured that emotion. That is another clue, right?
Yeah. Also, in that age sense that we get sometimes, we also hear the voice. Huh? Often people have a an adult voice, and suddenly they talk about something specific, and it's like the voice gets the voice of a smaller kid, or there is a change in the voice, and then you can maybe have a clue, maybe something happened around 10 or 7, but sometimes it's not that clear. But in some sessions it's you get somehow the sense something must have happened in the age where they started school, or maybe in teenager time, or before they started school, or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, the voice. Yeah, I never thought about that. It's very revealing, the voice of a person.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you're administering the Rosen bodywork method to a person, it's in a very intimate setting. So it's one-on-one with the patient and the practitioner. You're in a room, just sort of like if you're giving out say massage therapy, and then you've got some time to feel the person's body, feel the muscles, whether they're tight or relaxed, and you're asking questions to this person. Marion says, the questions you ask must not be judgmental or interrogative, or they must not appeal directly to the intellect. They have to be sort of leading questions. They have to be questions, such as what happened, how did you feel? Just very non-judgmental, general questions that allow the person to speak, to bring about the response, so you can make your diagnosis, right?
Yeah. Well, we don't talk about diagnosis in Rosen Method. It's more, since we don't have anything that we want to change or heal, we just want to accompany or be there for the client. So they lie down on the massage table, and Marion Rosen, she worked always directly on the skin, so it means people just keep the underwear, and then we cover them with a sheet so that they don't feel so exposed. And first they lie on the belly, because on the belly, when you lie on the belly, you feel a little bit more protected. So we can work on the back. If you lie on the back, you have your belly very exposed. So it's nice to start with people lying on their belly. And so we start going through the body to just have a feeling, first sense of where do I feel tension, where is it more relaxed, where does the body take more space or breathe more freely. So and sometimes I start by asking very general question, how do you live, or how is your life at the moment? Or sometimes I also say what I see. Like I could start with saying, when I put my hand on your back, I can feel some tension there. Do you also feel it? And it's like a dialogue starting, not like talking about not an intellectual or not a ping pong conversation, but more like an invitation for the client to be curious about their own body.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, because curiosity is really something very healing, because it gives you a sense, there could be something there that could be interesting. And often people come who have either chronic pain or have some sense of depression, or can be really various things that bring people. But when they get curious, there is something starting, something opening in the possibilities to heal.
Got it. Okay. And then is the muscle that easy to feel when it's tense?
Yeah, I mean, people learning don't always find it so easy, but if you have a little bit of experience, and since I've been touching people for 25 years, yes, it's quite easy to feel if a muscle is tight. And you can also see, because I use my eyes also quite a lot, so it means I can also see that a region of the body is moving either less or more, and if there is a tightness in one place, it means there is little movement in the body also. So you can feel it under the hand, but you can also see it.
And when you see the lack of movement in the muscle, is this when you're pressing on the muscle, or when the person might be extending their arm or something like that? Or
No, it's more the movement of the breath. In Rosen Method, we follow the breath all the time. And so we watch how is the breath changing. Is it taking more space, or is it getting more narrow or more shallow? And the what Marion said and what we really observe is that if you are really relaxed and feel well in your body, the breath is just going through your body in an easy way, huh? And it goes not only just in the trunk, but also you can see it even going to the arms and the legs, huh? But if you are very if let's say you are afraid or very stressed, the breath is much quicker and much smaller, and it won't be as lively. It's more like functional and quick, huh? And that makes the muscles less moving.
oh wow,
Does it make sense to you?
no, it is. I mean, I've always personally felt that the breath should be like the ocean, in the sense you see the waves coming at a gentle pace on its own time and not stopping till it actually hits the shore and then comes back a bit. So it should almost mimic that rhythm. But like you're saying, when people sometimes have fear, they're very constricted. We hear about the breath being only in the chest. They're not increasing and, constricting their diaphragm. But then you're actually saying that with good breath, you actually see it go through the whole body, like through the arms and the legs. And I never knew that.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you see a baby, a newborn baby, if it's really, if it was an untraumatic birth, and the child is well and relaxed, you can see the breath going till the feet, and the hands and everywhere. The whole body is breathing. And of course, in the adult, it's not so easy to see that. But if someone is really relaxed and maybe also coming in such a state where everything is connected, or you feel the connection with the universe, so to say, then you can also see this breath being much freer and going through the whole body. But usually, of course, the clients coming to us are not in that state when they arrive. Maybe sometimes at the end of the session, but of course not when they get there first.
Wow. So just having, a session like this must be, on its own, just very therapeutic for the client, just to be able to sit down and answer these questions and be relaxed and be able to breathe and, feel the muscles. Just on that level, it must be very therapeutic.
Yeah. We can say there are 3 types of sessions. One type, one is more like people coming and they just need to relax their body and the muscles, and it's just the main topic or the main issue is really how to relax the body. And then you have sessions where people get in contact with old wounds or all emotions that have been repressed. So it's quite emotional sessions. And then you have another type of sessions where it's more going to the, we could say it's more a spiritual type of session where they get into this type of contact with the wholeness. And so all this is Rosen method, but it depends what the client needs on that day.
Correct. Okay. And, you know, Marion, I mean, I've heard her speak of a transformationing happen, you know, to the transformation that happens to a person, and, you know, how they are different after the session. And she always says it's not that, you know, sometimes life has become different, but how they, you know, deal with life or how they address life is different in their attitude. And she really made her smile to see that transformation.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, sometimes you can really see a very big step after one session, but there are also this continuity, and many clients we see on a longer term. So so it's a smaller steps, but it's like it settles the change. It gives some kind of continuity to the change. So what can change very deeply is how people connect to their potential. Maybe they live their potential much more, or they know better what they need or what they want, or they are more. I think Alan Fogel said something like that. They are more able to have how do you say that in English? In German, you say Lebensbejahen. It's like life affirming, huh? Something that you're more able to say yes to life, huh?
Yes, correct. In order to live the best version of their life that they can be.
Yeah. And that they're able to make choices that are good for them, and not out of an urge to just to follow something from the outside, but they're more able to really know what they want and what they need.
When you do this work, and you've been doing it for so many years, do you see patterns in people? Are there any sort of, you know, similar suppressions that you see connected to muscle groups, or is it different with each person? Or?
We can say we can see things that are common to, let's say, to many people, and there are still things that are very individual. So sometimes it's tempting to say, oh, when people are tight, you know, in the neck, it's always that the type of limiting beliefs or habits or patterns. But there are still always exceptions to that, or slight differences. So it's very important to always have this person in focus, the person that is there, and not make too much assumptions. This person is tight there, it must be that and that, you know.
Correct. Yeah, like you're saying, you don't focus on the diagnosis, so you don't want to draw the conclusion.
Yeah.
Right? You just want to alleviate the tension.
Yeah.
So then, how does one actually alleviate the tension, or to get the breath to flow back into, you know, the arms and the legs? how does the practitioner enable that?
Well, we go to this tight muscle. We put our hands, and maybe we say to the client, "Yeah, I put my hands there because I feel some tensions." And then we ask them, "What is your sense right now? Do you also feel that tension, or what do you feel?" And in making them more attentive to this place, there is a kind of process that is starting. So sometimes they can just go into this feeling or this felt sense that is there, and sometimes it's just relaxes, and sometimes they get aware, yeah, that's something I do because I'm afraid to make mistakes, or whatever, you know. So whatever lies be underneath, and then when they get conscious about this, or can make the relationship between their felt sense and their life, or what they do in their life, it can release, huh? Or sometimes they just talk about what is happening right now in their life, or if they have worries, and then something relaxes. So it's being there and giving the client time to feel it and to talk about it.
Wow. And you can actually see that muscle that was tight is now relaxed.
In the best case, yeah. It's not always, it doesn't always happen that way, but yeah, that's the idea. Yeah. And that's what happened most of the time. Yeah.
Okay. So someone might need repeated sessions, right? Just to work with the person in the body.
Yeah. I have some clients who come, 3 or 4 times a year, you know, just when they have some specific topic they want to check on, or they have a decision coming up or something like that. Or I have clients coming every second week, the whole year round, because they do some they want to go more into this process and deepen their process, so to say. And some of them also go to psychotherapy parallel to the Rosen method, and some people don't. It depends. So it's very different.
Correct. Yes. And you know, it's like the saying where they say energy flows where attention goes. So if you're putting your conscious awareness on something, then that will, you know, hopefully start to open up because your attention is there, right? And you've led the patient from not even thinking about that particular spot in the body where they, you know, might not have seen the breath going through or the muscle being tightened. You brought their attention there, and their own awareness of that is, you know, helping to alleviate that.
Yeah.
If with a lot of this work that you've done now, you know, learning from the Rosen method and practicing with many patients in your career, how has that changed your life? If you can just speak a little bit about that, what effect it's had on your life, and maybe some of the lessons you've learned.
I think mainly it made me aware of the capacities I have. So if you would have told me 20 years ago that I would have my own practice and would be teaching this wonderful method, I probably would not have believed you. So I really felt very small and insecure. And now I would say it's not all gone, of course. I'm still myself, but I feel much freer to choose what I want, and to follow my um, to go where I would like to go, to create a life that is better for me.
Got it. Yeah, you've got the power, like with each, I'm sure each session that you've done, and it's
Mm-hmm.
enabled you to move forward in that direction because of it.
Mm-hmm. And really to trust also that I know what's good for me, and to follow really my intuition more and more.
Correct. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's also, I'm sure, because of the success you've seen, right? With people, it builds up that confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And with this, the Rosen method, I mean, we're here today with, many practitioners and, many countries, I'm sure, that are practicing this therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I know Marion has, given the fundamentals, but even she was, like we were saying, very curious even in her later years. Have you, or do you see the method is currently evolving? Are there any new techniques coming into the Rosen method, or is it just the same fundamentals that are being practiced? Is there possibility for evolution of this? Or?
Yeah, I think that's a delicate question, because how can we keep the this method somehow pure, and at the same time integrate um, the yeah the actual changes in the world. So I think it's somehow uh, by now it hasn't changed much in the core,
Yeah,
but maybe the way we explain it, because of course um, research has been evolving, and we know much more about the autonomic nervous system, the vagus nerve, and all this. So we can explain what we are doing in a much deeper way or a more scientific way than what was possible for Marion, I think. But we, I think there is really a wish uh, to keep the method as Marion offered it, or as she created it, because um, it's still the right thing, or it's still as it should be. It's very simple, and um, and it gives much space for creativity. The way we ask, the way we connect with people is very individual to all practitioners. So, but we would really like to keep this um, the purity of the work Marian did.
correct. Yeah, and I like that you mentioned simple because when at least when I see her speak in the interviews, she's very simple and simple coming from a very humble stance.
Mm-hmm.
Like she wasn't very technical in her speaking, and she always complimented a lot of the interviewers with good manners, and I guess that's a reflection in the work that she's done. Like you're saying, it's a very simple method, but the power is huge.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and I think simple was one of her favorite words. She used it a lot. So yeah.
Well, that's great. No, thank you once again, Maude, for coming on the episode. And I know I referenced Marion a lot, but she is fundamental to this work, and I'm glad yourself has taken on it because you are skilled in many other forms of therapies as well, and it's good to see this work out there because I often feel when people think of therapy, the first thought comes to mind is the patient sitting on the couch in front of the therapist, and it's a very sort of mental, intellectual dialogue that's going on, which is great. Then sometimes you have to complement with different modalities because there's no one size that fits all. So I'm glad to see that you're doing this kind of work out there.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you very much for having invited me.
No, it's my pleasure. I was very excited to speak with you. So if people want to get a hold of you or find out more about your teaching, they can come to your website.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yes. And I'll post that in the show notes.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. And
yeah, and also the website of the Rosen Institute, because my website is in German. So.
Okay, yeah. No, I'll post the Rosen Institute as well. And even for your website, I mean, when I was reading up about you, I hit the translate button, so that really helped.
Good, great.
That's good. So thanks again for coming on the episode, and I wish you well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
My pleasure.